covering Montana right now. This is Fox Local News at 9.
Breaking news this evening as fire crews are working to quickly contain a fast-moving fire burning at the base of Mount Sentinel. I'm Angela Marshall, and we bring you team coverage tonight. Our Tessa Nato talks with families shocked to see the flames so close to town, and Jordan Blaine is tracking our fire weather forecast. But first, our Spencer Schott joins us from the base of Mount Sentinel. Spencer, when did this fire start?
Well, Angela, one neighbor told me just before 6:15 he saw two kids running down the hill from those bushes yelling fire. That's when he and a groundskeeper grabbed some buckets of water and headed up the mountain to start the fire line. Fire crews arrived on scene less than 10 minutes later, but that didn't stop the fire from rapidly spreading uphill. The Missoula City Fire Department is being assisted by the DNRC and the Forest Service, as well as air teams dropping fire retardant and water from the helicopters and air tankers. Missoula's fire chief says they are lucky the fire is moving away from buildings and they aren't fighting any other elements.
It looks like we're being able to manage this right now. We're just real fortunate that we're not having a lot of wind activity this afternoon.
No evacuation orders have been given at this time, but fire crews are asking folks to avoid the area. But that didn't stop many people from coming outside to take a look. Earlier today, our Tessa Nato spoke to neighbors about how they came outside to watch a fire burn so closely to their homes. Tessa?
Spencer, earlier when the fire was growing, there was people packed in this parking lot as they had a very good view of the fire. Now, as it continues to grow, neighbors are spotted sitting on top of cars, on their lawns, and in the streets to watch as the fire grew. I talked to neighbors who say they were at the mall when they first saw the flames, and within a half hour, it doubled in size. Most people I talked with say they couldn't believe what they were seeing. student Taylor Miranda says she got an alert from the university at about 6:45 about the fire. That's when she looked out her window and saw the flames.
It started out as this smaller sort of rectangle, and every time you looked away and then you'd look back, it just got even further, and especially towards the top, it just burned around so fast and so quickly around the top.
Now, in an effort to accommodate emergency vehicles, all eastbound traffic on South Avenue at Arthur has been stopped, and all southbound traffic on Maurice at East Sussex is stopped. And as this fire is growing, we're going to talk to Jordan, who has more on what the conditions might have played a role into the fire. Jordan?
Thanks, Tessa. Well, outside right now, fortunately, on Mount Sentinel, we are seeing light wind, 5 miles per hour. That means the mountain itself seeing about 5 to 15 miles per hour. And luckily, I'm not tracking those winds pick up anymore overnight. Another role to watch out for right now is our temperatures. We're in the 60s. Mount Sentinel is about 2 to 3 degrees above Missoula. We're going to fall into those 50s overnight, so that mountain should get a nice chance to breathe. And I'm also not tracking any rain or thunderstorms on that area, so we are going to be seeing a good recovery overnight.
Thanks so much, Jordan. This is not the first time Mount Sentinel has been set ablaze, folks. A fire erupted in 2008, scorching more than 300 acres. That fire also started at the base of Mount Sentinel, apparently by 2 children, according to the Missoulian. Fire officials had said they were playing with something that ignited the fire, matches, lighters, or fireworks. Luckily, crews stopped that fire from spreading into the thick timber above. Well, this breaking news coverage was actually first brought to you tonight on our Montana Right Now news app. So make sure to download our free app, people, and enable those push alerts. That way you can get the latest information right at your fingertips. If you are just tuning in, our team is on the ground tonight in Missoula, where we are just learning crews have contained a fire burning on Mount Sentinel. Our Spencer Schott joins us now live from the base of the mountain with the very latest. Spencer?
And that's correct. The fire chief just confirmed that the fire is 100% contained. There are still crews up on the mountain subduing any hot spots still in the area and getting an estimate of how many acres were burned today. Just a few minutes ago, the University of Montana sent out an emergency alert text reminding folks that the M Trail is still closed and they want folks to continue to avoid the area. Reporting live in Missoula, Spencer Schott, Montana Right Now.
Breaking right now.
The Electoral College vote set to confirm President-elect Joe Biden's win now at a halt as chaos erupts at the U.S. Capitol. Pro-Trump protesters stormed the Capitol, pushed through barriers set up along the perimeter, and wrestled with officers in full riot gear, forcing the House and the Senate to evacuate. Right now, the AP confirms one woman who was shot inside the Capitol has now died. Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Marshall. Congress is in recess until further notice due to those protests, and a 6 p.m. curfew is in place in D.C. tonight. President Donald Trump released a video message on Twitter this afternoon, urging people to go home and have peace.
We have to have peace. So go home.
Now, that message from the president came after President-elect Joe Biden addressed the nation to comment on today's protests at the U.S. Capitol.
Today's reminder, a painful one, that democracy is fragile, and to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders of the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit of power, or the personal interest pursuits of their own selfish interest at any cost, but of the common good.
Now we can confirm our Montana delegation is safe. Senators Daines and Tester and newly elected Congressman Rosendale all called for peace and condemned the violence after they were forced to evacuate due to safety concerns. Ahead of today's hearing, Daines and Rosendale both plan to object the election's results in certain states, while Tester urged Congress to move forward with certifying them. Meanwhile, here at home, people also gathered in Helena, Missoula, and in Billings, but on a much smaller scale. Audrey Mayer walks us through those local protests.
Dozens of protesters assembled outside Senator Steve Daines' downtown Billings office this morning. One of the protesters, Peggy Miller, says she would like to see an audit or recount of all the votes conducted in the 2020 election. She continued by saying she wants Senator Daines and Congressman Matt Rosendale to confirm their opposition to the Electoral College votes. Miller says the group is also upset about Daines and Gianforte's vote for the omnibus bill. At one point in the rally, one man in the audience cried out, saying all Democrats should be hanged, and he was met with cheers from the rest of the crowd. Coming up at 6, we'll hear more from protesters from around the state of Montana. In Billings, I'm Audrey Mayer, Montana Right Now.
With riots breaking out at our nation's capital today, police were on hand to keep the peace. Our Zach Kaplan is live in Helena tonight to tell us how these events are impacting our local authorities. Zach?
Angela, good evening. The protesters began organizing right behind me at about 9-10 o'clock this morning. The protests were peaceful. The Capitol Police kept an eye on today's events as they went on. Now, I reached out earlier today to the General Services Division. They're in charge of security both here at the Capitol building and all of the buildings in the Capitol complex. And here's what they had to say. Our security team is actively monitoring the situation in D.C. We are working with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to address any potential issues if they arise here at the Montana State Capitol. At this point, no issues exist. While we do not comment on specific security measures, we have increased the law enforcement presence to ensure the safety of everyone at the Capitol complex. We'll continue to monitor the situation and give any updates as they come in. Reporting in Helena tonight, I'm Zach Kaplan, Montana Right Now.
Now, Congress has yet to finish the election result certification process today, if they even will after today's storm upon the Capitol building. And I spoke to our political analyst, Lee Banville, who says a bigger message comes into play with some congressional delegates questioning the election process.
And so what's to stop senators from liberal states stepping in and saying the way Montana does it is just not quite right? And so we think that we know better than Montanans how to run our elections, because these senators are kind of arguing that they know better than Pennsylvanians how to run Pennsylvania's elections, or Arizonans how to run Arizona's election. Because really what you're saying is we don't trust their process. And historically, Montanans have sort of been like, we don't like it when outsiders come in and tell us how to run things.
Now, in a letter to colleagues, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced leaders of Congress have decided to resume the joint session tonight to certify President-elect Joe Biden's win once the Capitol is cleared for use.
From your hometown election headquarters, this is a special edition of Montana Right Now.
Welcome to your hometown election headquarters, everyone. I'm Ben Wyman. Welcome to Election Night 2020. Our team positioned across the state of Montana to bring you tonight's latest poll numbers, But first, we're going to check in on Montana's very tight Senate race. Current results show Steve Bullock in a lead, 51% to 49%. That's Steve Daines on his right there. Again, folks, very early numbers. Less than 20% of Montana votes are currently in right now. We're going to begin our coverage tonight with Jason Berger in Bozeman, where Steve Daines began speaking just moments ago. Jason, what's the latest tonight?
Yeah, guys, we're here live in Bozeman tonight, and all these people gathered behind me are expecting to hear from Senator Steve Daines in the next couple moments. We hope to bring you his live remarks here in just the next couple minutes. Stay with us. Okay, now he's now up on the podium.
Well, thank you for coming out tonight. I will tell you, on behalf of the Daines family, we're grateful for the strong showing of support, and it's been a wonderful evening. We have all 4 of our children here with us tonight, as well as our 2 grandchildren, and our parents, as well as so many great friends. Well, we've been watching the returns coming in. We're cautiously optimistic as we see the numbers so far. I will tell you this, we are consistently beating every one of our targets in every county that's come in so far. But the question is, why are we here tonight? This is such an important race because as the Montana race goes, so goes likely the majority control of the United States Senate. We hold Montana. Nancy Pelosi will not have uncontrolled power in Washington, D.C. We are here to protect our Montana way of life. We are here to protect the Second Amendment for Montanans. We are here to make sure that we continue to support our timber jobs, our mining jobs, our energy jobs all across Montana. And I don't know about you, I'd rather see lower taxes, not higher taxes. We're also here for another important reason, and that's for the future of the United States Supreme Court. It's one of the most important votes that a United States Senator casts. And I will tell you, this senator was very proud to vote for Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And I appreciate such a great legal scholar, such a great mind that Amy Coney Barrett has, not to mention she'll be the first Supreme Court justice who's also the mother of school-age children. Isn't she great? And speaking of children, one of the fights we'll always take back to Washington, D.C. is to ensure we protect those who are most vulnerable. That includes the unborn, the disabled, and the elderly. I'll always fight for them back in Washington. So the night is still somewhat early. We'll continue to watch the returns, but I want to thank you for your support. I'm grateful for the support we're seeing all across Montana tonight, and we'll provide another update here when we get more results. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Well, it remains a quiet scene here at the Helena Civic Center, where the Montana Democratic Party is holding a watch party of sorts. And one of the key races that I'm watching for you tonight is the race for Montana's U.S. Senate seat with incumbent Republican Senator Steve Daines and his Democratic challenger Steve Bullock. Bullock vying for his first term in the U.S. Senate, but no stranger to politics as Montana's 2-term governor and former state attorney general. Now, early results showed Bullock with a large lead over Daines, but as the votes continue to be counted by the Montana Secretary of State's office, well, that gap is narrowing. Bullock with 51% of the vote to Daines 49%. And we're seeing all of those numbers Well, they were unfolding on a projector right behind me. But since I have you taking a look at the Helena Civic Center right now, you can see for yourself what a quiet scene it is in here. Now, due to the coronavirus pandemic, members of the public have not been invited to this watch party. It is only open to members of the media. And we have had the opportunity to speak with some candidates as well as campaign managers. We are hoping from an appearance from Steve Bullock himself, but that really depends on what those election results show. And of course, we will be watching all of those results throughout the entire night. And even campaign managers telling me they are bracing themselves for a long night, even though they do remain optimistic. Reporting live in Helena, I'm Angela Marshall, Montana Right Now.
Angela, thank you. And you just heard from Senator Steve Daines as well. We'll try to bring you Governor Bullock later on in the evening. We're going to move on now, bring in the other two members of our team here in the studio. Taylor Tucker, political analyst Lee Banville. You're going to join us kind of tonight with a look ahead. Good evening, guys. Happy election night.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. Two different scenes there.
Yeah.
Right? Looking at the Senate race. Let's take a closer look at the numbers, though, that we're seeing so far. What are you seeing? What are you noticing? And what can we expect moving forward?
So we continue to see results come in. We're now up to about 300,000, a little bit more than 300,000 votes that have been counted. The race has tightened up, which I think most people expected. We've started to see results from really important counties like Gallatin, Yellowstone. We still haven't heard anything from two really important counties. On the conservative side, Flathead has reported no numbers, and on the Democratic side, Silverbow or Butte has not reported numbers thus far through the Secretary of State site. So those are two counties that could kind of start to change the equation. And then we have a lot of the smaller counties that are still yet to report. There are still probably 250 to 300,000 votes out there to be counted, which is a lot. And so we'll continue to see this probably over the next 24 hours. All of those numbers will be coming through. Things will take a pause around midnight when they stop reporting numbers for most counties. But we'll still see things trickling in, and then I think it will pick up tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much, Lee. Ben, I will send it back to you.
We're going to continue on with the next race, the Montana governorship. After 8 years with Steve Bullock in the governor's seat, the state prepares to elect its new leader. Congressman Greg Gianforte, Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney are going head-to-head for that spot. Right now, early results show Cooney up 50%, Greg Gianforte right behind him at 47%. Jessica Watts is in Helena tonight with an update from Mike Cooney. But first, we're going to join our Spencer Schott from Greg Gianforte's watch party in Bozeman. Spence?
Well, Ben, it's already been a quiet night with Gianforte watching the race from his hotel room, but it seemed to be a little bit quieter once the first round of numbers started coming in, showing Gianforte trailing in the polls by about 15,000 votes. But those numbers were being reported in counties like Missoula, Lewis and Clark, Gallatin County, three places Gianforte wasn't expecting to win in the first place. The night is still young, and we'll see where those numbers go as more counties start reporting. Reporting in Bozeman, Spencer Schott, Montana Right Now.
Well, right now I'm live at the Helena Civic Center, the headquarters for the Democratic Party, where I just spoke with Mike Cooney. Now, he says he spent most of his day making phone calls, thanking everyone for making his campaign possible. And with Election Day finally here, he says it brings up a mix of emotions. Now, he actually is headed to the Great Northern Hotel to watch the results trickle in. He says he is feeling confident and hopeful about tonight. And I'll also be here throughout the night giving you results throughout the rest of the election tonight. Reporting live in Helena, I'm Jessica Watts, Montana Right Now.
Spencer, Jessica, thank you so much. We're going to continue to keep going here. We're going to take a look at some quick results for some other races across the state. Early numbers show a tie right now. Rafe Graybill, Austin Knutson each have 50% of the vote. We'll continue to watch that. Plus, the state superintendent of public instruction race. Our initial results show Democrat Melissa Romano up 51% to 45% for incumbent Republican Elsie Arnson. This is a rematch of 2016. And in the race for state auditor, Democrat Shane Morgeau is up 48%, while Republican Troy Downing is sitting at 47%. And then, of course, the final race we're watching closely this evening, the race for the United States House of Representatives. Republican Matt Rosendale faces off against Democrat Kathleen Williams. Early results show this race dead even at 50%, right now. Our Fika Sham has the latest from Matt Rosendale's virtual watch party. But first, we're going to turn to our Rachel Louise Just in Bozeman tonight. Rachel, how's the atmosphere at the Kathleen Williams watch party?
It's a very different atmosphere than the one that we had here in 2018, where there's people just filling this room, but it's still very positive. And Kathleen addressed the people here just a little bit ago at 8 p.m. saying positive, but knowing that we were settling in here for a very long night. Now, we've had different technical issues with things around the state, whether that's just reporting things. Also, there's going to be a little bit of delayed ballot counting tonight. So we all, I think, understand we're not going to have these final results here tonight, but of course, staying positive throughout the night. We're going to keep you updated throughout the night. Now, going over to Matt Rosendale, which is Kathleen's opponent, we're going to send things over to Afik Hisham. Afik.
With family and coffee at his side, Rosendale tells me he's full of anticipation. He was trailing behind by a few thousand votes earlier, but now he's making up the difference with a tight race as both candidates get 50% of the current ballots coming in. But even so, Rosendale says he's waiting on a significant number of ballots to go in first before possibly making any announcements.
Until, honestly, you see all of the returns come in, then you really can't make any kind of decisions.
Whether he wins or loses, one thing is certain for him. He says he is glad to have made connections with his fellow Montanans throughout the duration of his campaign. Reporting live from Great Falls, I'm Afik Hisham, Montana right now.
Rachel, Feek, thank you so much. Moving on now, Tessa Nadeau is tracking voter turnout, not just here in Montana, but across the nation. Tessa, what's significant about this election in particular?
Well, Ben, a record-breaking over 100 million voters cast their ballots before Election Day this year. That's for in-person and mail-in voting. Now, that's 60 million more people who voted early this year compared to 2016. Right now, the U.S. is set to have the highest percentage of voter turnout since 1908, when the country elected William Howard Taft to the White House. Early voters represent about 74% of the total turnout in 2016. States like Texas, Nevada, Oregon, North Carolina, Georgia, and even Montana have already seen record turnout tonight. Data shows the increases in early voter turnout are significant for those under 30. Now, the amount of early votes could mean that it could take longer to get results, but it's safe to say that in this election and the get out of votes from both campaigns has created a nationwide engagement. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Tessa Nadeau, Montana right now.
From our state capitals to the nation's capital, this is a special edition of Montana Right Now.
We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, or rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts.
You just heard President Joe Biden address the nation for the first time as commander-in-chief and speaking about coming together as a country. Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Marshall. Yes, Joe Biden was sworn in today as the 46th president of the United States alongside Vice President Kamala Harris. In his inaugural speech, it was a call for unity and calm among Americans after 4 divisive years under former President Donald Trump. President Biden noted the nation is struggling through a rise of white nationalism, racism, and deep political divisions. Biden was sworn in with his hand on the family Bible, and he has used the Bible each time he has taken an oath of office, both as a senator from Delaware and a vice president. Well, ahead of the inauguration ceremony today, the FBI warned of possible violence and unrest in our nation's capital and in state capitals around the country. Now, we do have teams stationed across this Pacific Northwest tonight, ready to bring you the latest from the Capitol buildings in Montana, Idaho, and in Washington. And you'll also hear from our political analysts and our local politicians about the impact today has had on the Treasure State. We're going to go ahead and start now in our state capital of Helena tonight, where Ben Wyman is standing by with an update on how things played out there today. Ben?
Good evening to you, Angela. Yeah, the story of the day today here at the Montana State Capitol was quiet. Absolute quiet. Now, we have, of course, the last 2 weeks been getting some pretty credible threats from the FBI of violence against all 50 state capitol buildings around the United States. Well, Inauguration Day came and went here in Helena, and it was pretty peaceful. Now, of course, we did see a heightened level of security, some more police force walking around the Capitol complex today, but they were not needed. There were no demonstrators, and there were no protesters. None of that came to fruition. Now, we did meet one protester, though. His name is John Vore, and he's actually a former Montana FWP official. He actually decided that he wanted to make sure that both sides would be represented today. And he was very surprised when he arrived that he was the only person here. And when I talked with him, his message was pretty direct. He wants our country to come together and wants to make sure that with the dawn of a new administration, that there is hope.
I'm an assembly of one, I guess. Yeah, no, I'm not a politically active person. It's something that, I was a little bit uneasy about, kind of scared about a little bit, but I thought if these other, I don't want people to think that it's just the insurrectionists that are running things, There are a lot of other people that have a reasonable outlook on things.
And while John was the only person to actually show up to the Capitol today, law enforcement, they were prepared for very large crowds. The image you're looking at right now on your screen was them this morning as they were preparing for whatever that day might bring. They were on standby for whatever might play out. And of course, unlike what we saw 2 weeks ago in our nation's capital in D.C., the Montana State Capitol today, it was safe and business as usual. The Montana lawmakers, they're still putting in work. Live in Helena, Ben Weinman, Montana Right Now.
Thank you so much. And in the state of Washington, after a summer of unrest, businesses and politicians prepared for the possibility of protests leading up to Inauguration Day. Sean Owsley has the latest from Olympia.
Well, we continue to cover the events unfolding here on Inauguration Day. Here closer to home, we're in the state capital of Boise, Idaho, one of 50 state capitals receiving information from the FBI to be ready for potential armed protests, to be even prepared for explosives. None of that obviously has happened. There's been very little organized demonstration, really just a couple folks. Earlier yesterday, one person singing God Bless America with a Trump-Pence flag. But now we're getting a better idea why there was really no reason to worry on the part of lawmakers and people who are patrolling here. I spoke to an Idaho State police officer who told me, look, people inside this Capitol building have been in constant contact with people who have been associated with these groups, and they decided for whatever reason this day was not going to be the day. Stand down. They decided not to come today here, or as we're seeing now, many other state capitals as well. And again, relatively quiet and uneventful day here on the day of the presidential inauguration. We'll keep you posted, of course, online and throughout the evening. Reporting from Boise in Idaho, Sam Adams, Montana Right Now.
And that was our Sam Adams reporting. Now, we did want to take a look at the scene of what is happening in Washington, but instead we're going to go ahead and take a deeper look at what is happening across the country. In fact, we wanted to let you know that so far it appears that it is really calm all across our nation's capital and even across much of the country. And there were some small protests, and those small protests happened in Reno, Nevada, as well as Sacramento, California. But so far, those demonstrations appear to be peaceful. We are in a weather authority alert tonight with an historic storm expected to break records over the weekend.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the World Series Game 3 here on Fox Montana. We have crews positioned throughout the state to bring you the latest weather information. You see Tessa Nato, Zach Kaplan. They're both standing by with a look at live conditions tonight.
But first, our team coverage begins with our meteorologist, Mark Haka. Good evening, Mark. How can we prepare for the weekend ahead?
Well, hopefully you've already been doing it. If you haven't, well, you still have time at least to get the house. You do weather stripping. That's what I was doing this morning, putting up some weather stripping around the doors. And if you're venturing outside, dress appropriately. It's just going to get colder and windier as we work our way through tomorrow. If you're driving, be very, very careful. This is Lolo Pass, and as you can see, there's a lot of snow and snow-covered roadways, not only in the mountains, but in the lower elevations as well. We have winter storm warnings, Livingston, Lewistown, Great Falls, back toward Helena, Butte, Missoula, and Kalispell. Far northwest Montana, the High Line, eastern Montana, and the southwest part of the state around Bozeman and Dillon under winter weather advisories. But the worst weather conditions will be along the northern and southern Rocky Mountain front into the Cut Bank area and around Browning. Blizzard warning, winds up to 40 miles per hour, 10 to 20 inches of snow. It's going to be terrible in that part of the state. Right now, it's just as we had thought. Heaviest of snow is in central and western Montana. Heaviest snow, Missoula, particularly north of Missoula, south of Polson, up toward Kalispell, east to Helena. Here's the snow in Great Falls, extending now to Lewistown as well. Temperatures around the region, 18 in Great Falls, up to 28 in Butte. No Arctic air at Salmon, Idaho. 44 degrees there. Wind chills are not brutal like they will be late tonight and tomorrow, but down to 4 above at Havre and in Glasgow, 7 above in Great Falls. I hope our reporters are dressed appropriately because it's cold out there, and I'll tell you more about tonight and tomorrow's storm coming up.
And we'll be paying attention. Thanks so much, Mark. And our team coverage continues with a live look right now at weather conditions all across the state.
Yeah, they look pretty comfy, a little cold maybe. Tessa Nato in Missoula. Tessa, we'll start with you. What are you experiencing right now?
Guys, I hate to say it, but it's not even Halloween yet, and it already looks like Christmas out here. I've been out here all night covering the snow, and it's been windy, not windy. Right now, it's pretty calm, so it's not too bad, but the snow is still coming down. Now, I'm standing just outside of our station, and I'm standing by one of our news cars, and I don't know how well you can see this, but look how much snow is already being built up. That's just from today, so the snow is coming down pretty hard. But let's go over to Helena, and let's see what Zach Haplin is doing, how the weather is over there.
Thanks, Tessa. Here in Helena, I'm on the corner of 11th Avenue and Montana Avenue, where I've been throughout much of the afternoon. The snow is definitely picking up, as you can see. It's definitely some prime snowball throwing snow, and crews are out here. They've been out here throughout the afternoon trying to clear things out and get things in a little bit better shape for tomorrow morning, but they expect to be out there throughout the night, as you see one pass here behind me. They're expecting to be out, like I said, throughout much of the night and into the early morning hours. Now, I talked to the city of Helena earlier, and they said they have about 8,000 yards of sand that they are pushing throughout Helena's streets to try and clear things up before tomorrow morning. That's all from Helena right now. Live on Montana right now, I'm Zach Kaplan.
Zach, Tessa, thank you so much for your coverage. Be sure to stay safe out there and warm as well. And our team coverage was first brought to you on our Montana Right Now news app. Make sure to download the app for free, folks, and enable those push notifications. That way you can get the latest weather information right at your fingertips.